the call came, largely in part because of your dad, because of the Fearless Jack Bull incident.
Oh, can you ride a motorcycle?
Yes.
Yes.
And
it's a great lesson for anyone.
It's a great lesson. And it actually, your dad taught us this lesson. I implemented it 1 month later and changed my life. Crazy. So Fearless Jack Bull, who we love, it was an incredible gimmick. It was like a past his prime, washed up, alcoholic, Evel Knievel. It was hilarious. And your dad called and said, can you ride a motorcycle? He thought it was somebody doing an impression of your dad. He didn't believe it was your dad. So he's like, nope. And he's like, well, can you learn to ride a motorcycle? Nope. And he's like, well, okay then. And then he looked and saw 203 and was like, oh my God, that was Dusty Rhodes. And then your dad came to OVW and was talking to the class. And at near the end of the session, he's like, is Jack Bull here? And then, you know, they had a chuckle, you know, but I mean, the chuckle was fine, but the opportunity never came around again.
Yeah.
And he said, look, if they ever ask you if you can do anything, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And then you better learn how to do it. And I remember, I think your dad used an example of a unicycle. If they ask you if you can ride a unicycle, the answer is yes. And then you better learn how to ride a unicycle in the next couple of days.
Yeah, you got time.
And literally they called me and they're like, can you speak Italian? And I'm like, yes. And they said, you know, okay, you're on speakerphone. And I said a couple lines, like, because I used to listen to this tourist tape that I memorized a couple lines, really super basic. And they were like, oh, okay, that sounds good. And then I went to Borders and I downloaded 8 DVDs or CDs of Italian lessons on a Man Beast, put it on my iPod. And then the whole flight there, I'm trying to learn Italian on like a flight over. And I didn't learn at that time, but since then I studied Italian.
Yeah.
And I was able to actually go and do a live television interview at like my peak of Italian and a radio interview. And I actually got my Italian citizenship after I became Santino. I really just dove into the culture. My dad's from Italy. But yeah, I mean, talk about learning a lesson and then implementing it immediately. It was incredible. Like if that didn't happen, I might have said, no, not really that well. You know what I mean? Like crazy.
I think on the pod, you're actually the first person who's ever brought up Fearless Jack Bull. And
awesome.
I would love, there are people involved, you're involved, Punk's involved, a few others were involved, Timmy Baltimore was involved. Al let us just do things.
Right.
Because he was under the impression, well, if it pops the wrestlers, we're the biggest marks of all, as he would always say, so it must pop the audience too. So with so little experience, he was letting me come up with these concepts of what does a retired stuntman wrestle like? How does he win matches? Does he roll out of the ring to go get a hot dog and the other guy chases him and the other guy gets counted out? Does he slip on his getting in the ring and then he backdrops the guy? It was
awesome.
It was we were having a lot of fun.
The uniform was awesome.
I think where Danny Davis finally said enough was the oxygen deprived chamber at Derby Park Expo 5, which is a flea market, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Where we put him in it and said he would sit for the remainder of the show. You know, I'd look at this amazing stunt, and it was him in it. And can you hear us? It's soundproof. Yep, I can hear you. And he was also smoking a cigarette in it. That's where they finally, I was very young. It was my first foray in a little bit of the booking side of things. And that's where they said that, you know, fantastical minds can sometimes be too fantastical.
There was something with a shopping cart and a jump, and there was some crazy stunts.
Oh, we laid a dirt bike down at Six Flags.
Six Flags, yep.
Yeah, and that wasn't the problem. He was supposed to jump the ring, guys, okay? Obviously, we were not going to, he didn't know how to jump the ring.
Couldn't ride a motorcycle.
The joke was he just fell down and then, you know, did that. But the problem was he laid the dirt bike down and the gas spilt on the floor. So the whole show for the rest of the Six Flag, for a guy with a lisp, this is a rough one, Six Flag Super Summer Sizzler Series show. For the rest of those shows, that night we were I remember being in the biggest trouble with Al. Like, the whole arena smelled like gas. What was the idea here? Like, we promised the jump. And that, you know, well, this is quite a deep cut. I mentioned booking, my first foray into like trying it. I am very shocked that I get to read this sheet of paper knowing many of your accolades, having experienced them, been involved in some fun stories with you, how does one become the TNA director of authority?
It's funny, you know, I was a civilian, man. Life after wrestling was great, and I have Battle Arts Academy, and it's running and it's going well. And Scott Demore, a friend of mine, kind of asked me to come to TNA like a couple times, and I'm like, man, I'm really busy. You know, I was running the facility by myself with my wife, and it's a lot. It's a huge undertaking. It's a massive facility, and I just couldn't fathom leaving home to do this. And then plus my daughter, she got signed and she was in NXT, and I always wanted to do something together with her. And I figured the opportunity would you know, come about with WWE. And she got injured. I think she blew her knee out, actually, when she got there. They put her with somebody really green who did something, and she blew her knee out. So I knew I had 9 months. And he asked me again. I said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. And at the time, so I had my neck surgery 2014. And as I was kind of, you know, trying to come back from that, my lower back kind of crapped out on me, man. Like, I have a really degenerated discs, and I wasn't really able to wrestle. So I'm like, you know, I can wrestle like once in a while. So he came up with this concept of the director of authority, which is kind of like a GM. And I went there, and it didn't take long, like 3 months or so. And I'm like, man, I miss this, man. And now, instead of just being a performer, you know, I've been a coach for like 13 years, and now I'm dabbling in producing and coaching and sitting in the production meetings, and I just fell in love with wrestling again, man. With creating moments, producing television, and I've been there for 3.5 years, and I love it, man. It's great. And then of course this, you know, landmark relationship with WWE and TNA, and my daughter came to work with me. Yeah. So we had this incredible, you know, at first she was the liaison between the two brands, and then she got cleared to wrestle again, and we tagged together last year, and you know how special that is. And then she turned on me, and we wrestled against each other a few months ago in a mixed tag and stuff. So it came full circle, and during that, she was there for 1 year and 9 months. Yeah. I didn't realize the relationship had been that long. But watching her polish, you know, like she didn't really have an offensive move set that was like hers. So every match was trying new things. And then in that time, she's just kind of, you know, got her move set, and it's much more crisp. And I just watched her, you know, develop. And now she's ready for what's next. You know?
You're a reverse second generation, you know? That's what Cena used to say about Fabo. Because you know what I mean? Well, no, you're not reverse, but now because the whole thing is, that's a special moment.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, and my dad was there. I'm an emotional guy. So my dad has Parkinson's, and we were in Brampton, Ontario, and it's progressing, you know. So we were close to home, and he was able to come. He was in a wheelchair, and get some more of this Wheatley vodka here.
Yeah.
And I knew it would be one of the last times he saw me wrestle live. To do it with my daughter was like, she even called me out on the way to the ring. She's like, hold it together, Dad. I got a glimpse of my dad in the wheelchair, and it was cool, man. It was really good. It was a special moment for the family. My kids were there, my younger kids now, and it was awesome.
To have everybody all together is
like the stars aligned, like they're never gonna align again.
And I feel like there's wrestlers that the stars don't align, or they align slightly, but to have it all together is that memory you'll always have. Forever. And I try, because if you need a dish, by the way. Oh. If I try, I know for me, with Liberty from WrestleMania 39 onward, I overly try to always have the stars aligned, because near the end in our situation with Dustin and me and Dad, I could see we're not going to get more shots at this. Right. You know, when we did Battleground example in Buffalo, there was a whole discussion on he couldn't even get up the steps. So it was like, what does he do? Does he do the spot on the outside? And just having to hear that discussion, I realized like, I shouldn't be jaded or bitter about anything here. We're going to get this moment together.
At Six Flags, you had a special moment.
Yeah, that was more.
That one gave me chills because it was nighttime, and it was just America. Yeah. It was nighttime. It was like a light rain.
Yeah.
It was like a scene from a movie.
The Six Flags Super Summer Sizzler series. Yes.
Yeah. It was awesome. I was happy for you because I knew how much it means to you, man.